This week on World of Africa, we highlight the plight of oppression that the press continues to face in the continent. I'm Erik Njoka, and the show starts right now. Now, late last year, a clip filmed during a public event in South Sudan showing a stain spreading on the President Salva Kiir's pants went viral. The journalists who were covering the event were detained and accused of embarrassing the head of state and the country. And in the Horn of Africa nation of Somalia, the government is accusing scribes of being unfair, biased, and not transparent. Many journalists in the continent have accused these governments of muzzling the media, despite such cases not being new. But when will the press really be free in Africa? That's the biggest question. Here's a report.
South Sudan, December 2022. A national anthem goes awfully wrong as the President Salva Kiir is caught on camera in a very compromising situation. Despite the cameraman noticing the embarrassing moment and turning away, the South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation went ahead and aired the footage. And now, the journalists who covered the event, in total 6 of them, are in hot soup. A journalists' union in South Sudan asserted that 6 staffers with the national broadcaster are detained in connection with the footage. The Union of Journalists of South Sudan called for a speedy conclusion to the investigation into the staffers who are in the custody of the National Security Service. The detained journalists are camera operators, a video editor, 1 contributor, and 2 control room operators working at the national broadcaster. By law, South Sudanese authorities are allowed to detain suspects for only 24 hours before bringing them before a judge. Rights groups have called on the South Sudanese authorities to stop harassing and threatening journalists. Salva Kiir has been South Sudan's only president since the country won independence from Sudan in 2011. Government officials have repeatedly denied rumors circulating on social media that he isn't well. The country has been embroiled in conflicts for much of the past decade and has suffered numerous crises since then, enduring brutal conflict, political turmoil, natural disasters, and hunger. The presidential election was also recently postponed again, this time to late 2024, amid the slow implementation of a 2018 peace deal ending a 5-year civil war.
You comrades from the National Liberation Council, I ask you all to support peace so that development can take place. The revitalized peace agreement has been extended for 2 more years to enable implementation of the agreement before the general elections.
While attempts are being made to gag journalists in South Sudan, the press is under siege in Somalia. This is Abdallah Ahmed Mumin. He is the Secretary General of the Somali Journalists Syndicate, also known as SJS. He faces 3 charges: bringing the nation or the state into contempt, instigation to disobey the laws, and non-observance of orders by the authorities, all derived from the outdated Somali Penal Code. The Attorney General also made several references of Abdallah Mumin's critical reporting against the government officials, including expose on human rights violations in Somalia.
On behalf of Abdel Mumin Ahmed, we defend him and his rights inside the court. We will continue defending him in the coming court session. We need patience to defend him from those charges.
Mumin was first arbitrarily detained on October 11th last year after a public statement expressing concerns about a government directive that restricted freedom of expression. He was later released and arrested again. Mumin developed multiple health issues while in detention. He was released on bail on October 22nd on the condition that he would not travel outside of the country and that he would cease his work and expressive activities. Somali authorities have previously said they will cease charging journalists with the penal code. International organizations sent a joint letter to Somali government officials calling for all charges against Mumin to be dropped. The letter is said to be stuck at the Communications Ministry in Somalia. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The military junta that controls Mali pardoned 49 Ivorian soldiers and suspended their prison sentences, ending a diplomatic dispute that highlighted the growing isolation of the West African country and its strained relations with its neighbors. Mali had accused the soldiers of being mercenaries, but the government of Ivory Coast said they were in Mali to support a nearly decade-old United Nations peacekeeping mission of 15,000 members assigned to protect civilians from armed groups. Here now is a report from Abidjan.
Colonel Assimi Goïta, President of the Transitional Head of State, has granted a pardon with full remission of sentences to the 49 Ivorians convicted by the Malian justice system.
This was the news that Abidjan woke up to. And this followed at the Ivory Coast International Airport after the announcement in Bamako, Mali. Junta leader offered pardons to all 49 Ivorian soldiers whose arrest in July triggered a bitter diplomatic row. The Ivorian soldiers landed in Abidjan and were greeted by President Alassane Ouattara. On the 30th of December last year, 46 soldiers were sentenced to 20 years in prison, while 3 women among the original 49, who had already been freed in early September, received death sentences in absentia. They were convicted of an attack and conspiracy against the Malian government and of seeking to undermine state security. The trial opened in the capital of Mali, Bamako, on the 29th of December and concluded the following day. The decision to pardon the soldiers symbolizes Goïta's concern for good governance and respect for independent justice, claims the government. Goïta seized power in 2 coups, first in 2020 and then the following year when he took control after firing the president and prime minister of the transitional government. Mali has been embroiled in terrorist violence linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State for almost a decade. The release of the Ivorian soldiers is meant to both send a good faith signal to Ivory Coast and show that the junta is in full control, while many say it's an attempt to distract the public from the security crisis engulfing the nation. Families could not hide their joy over their sons and daughters' return.
C'était le jour de son anniversaire, on l'a arrêté. Mais aujourd'hui là,
He was arrested on his birthday, but today we are relieved. We cried, we fasted, we prayed, and finally God has answered us. I'm in joy. Words fail me. I'm looking for words.
Les mots me manquent, je cherche les mots.
An Ivorian delegation travelled to Mali for talks before the trial opened, and the Ivorian Defence Ministry had then said dispute was on the way to being resolved. An agreement reached between Mali and Ivory Coast at the time had left open the possibility of a presidential pardon. The Malian government cited a memorandum of understanding the 2 countries had signed on the promotion of peace and the strengthening of relations of friendship.
I would like to express on behalf of the entire group our deepest gratitude for all that has been undertaken for our return home.
I'm delighted to see you back on Ivorian soil today. We are happy for you, happy for us, happy for your families, happy for the nation.
Ties between Mali and its West African neighbours were strained before the arrests, since elected President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta was toppled in August 2020 by officers angered at failures to end the insurgency. Ivorian President Ouattara is considered one of the most intransigent West African leaders towards Mali's junta. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Could a truce be slowly creeping back to the Democratic Republic of Congo? Well, It seems like it. The East African Community Regional Force deployed in eastern DR Congo has hailed the withdrawal from the Rumangabo military camp by the M23 rebels as a critical milestone. The retreat is in respect of the Luanda Summit of Heads of State in November last year. Despite the relief being felt in the town, the M23 still controls parts of North Kivu. They want direct talks with the Congolese government so as to find a lasting solution to the conflict. Here now is a report.
It was a story that dominated headlines in Africa towards the end of last year. This is what was left. Homes destroyed by shelling during clashes between Congolese army and M23 in November 2022. The M23 rebel group gave back a key military base in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo on the 6th of January this year, in the latest move in its pledge to retreat from conquered territories after months of advancing towards Goma. Local residents gave a cautious welcome to the handover ceremony near Rumangabo, the Congolese army's largest base in the region.
I have a good feeling. It feels good to see that the M23 is leaving our city. We suffered a lot with them. Personally, I have already fled this war more than 7 times. Today, I'm happy to see that they're going to leave, and I hope that this is the ending of our suffering.
We are not yet safe, and the situation is complicated because we have no government. You must understand that it is neither easy nor good to live with rebels. We want the government to be here with us. They are our leaders.
Taken over by the Tutsi-led M23 2 months ago, Rumangabo was silent and already overgrown with vegetation that made it feel abandoned. It was overseen by Kenyan forces deployed by the East African Community and followed a similar handover last month at a base in Kibumba, around 20 kilometers to the south. But even after promising to pull back its positions, M23 forces have gained ground elsewhere, raising doubts about the future of the years-long conflict.
We
will always expand our radius of defense. This is how we were forced to take the localities, cities, lands. But we don't need to take lands. What to do with them? We always have and always demand that there is a sincere dialogue, a direct dialogue with the government.
Under heavy international pressure to cease fighting, the rebels on the 23rd of December delivered the strategic town of Kibumba to a regional military force, calling the move a goodwill gesture done in the name of peace.
This is a goodwill gesture that the M23 will make today. It is in the name of peace and a gesture that is part of the recommendations of the mini summit of heads of state held in Angola in November 2022. We hope that Kinshasa government will seize this opportunity with 2 hands and work to bring peace to our country.
Northeast of Goma, the M23 has also recently captured several villages as well as the town of Nyamilima, near the Ugandan border. In June last year, the rebels also captured the town of Bunagana on the Ugandan border, offering them control of a vital trade crossing. The M23's resurgence has created relations between the DRC and its smaller Central African neighbor Rwanda, which Kinshasa accuses of backing the rebels. The United States, several European countries as well as the United Nations experts agree that Rwanda is assisting the M23. Kigali denies the charge and accuses the Congolese government of colluding with the FDLR, a descendant of the Rwandan Hutu extremist groups that carried out the 1994 Tutsi genocide in Rwanda. Bureau Report WION World is One.
Marrakesh is home to a secret paradise, a garden of plants and artworks designed by an Austrian artist. The 8-acre site is open to visitors who come to wander through the paths of this eccentric attraction. Here's a report from Morocco.
This is Anima. It's what welcomes you to this paradise garden. Dragon trees, cacti, flowers and many others All grow together 27 kilometers away from Marrakesh, Morocco, in the Eureka Valley. But the star of this garden is not just nature, it's also art. Flowers, trees and other plants are surrounded by artworks scattered throughout the park. In 2008, an Austrian artist started to build this garden from scratch. 8 years later, the Anima garden was born.
I make many gardens in the world since 30-40 years, because I think it's the only thing that becomes more and more and more beautiful every day. And in the times we are living, it is everything that we need. It is beauty, it is spirituality, it is shadow, it is coolness, it is inspiration.
The garden has many diverse plants that need special care, such as treatment, removal of dry leaves, as well as regular watering.
Over 8 hectares, the garden houses more than 50 types of trees, bamboos, olives, palm, in addition to more than 150 types of plants, bougainvillea, cacti, aloe vera, and also flowers from all over the world. More than 50 artworks are displayed in Anima. Most are sculptures. Works by African artists are also on show. Hella wanted to give them part of the spotlight to recognize African art's influence on European art.
It has a lot of plants we need for cooking, for medicine. All I do is I give them sun, I give them water in an ecological system that we have. I give them love. I talk to them, I tell them, you are my friends. If you have a problem, tell me and I will take care of your problem.
The garden features a hidden gem, its soil. Below the surface, each tree and plant benefits from soil specifically made for it to thrive. At an altitude of 800 meters, the air is dry and it rains a lot, far from the pollution of the city.
The
idea of this foreign man who founded this garden in the city of Marrakesh, where he collected a large number of antiques and transformed this garden into an open museum, it is a good idea, because this expresses his obsession and his love for archaeological and historical artifacts that have archaeological and historical value, especially since they were acquired legally.
70 people from the area work at the garden and the profits are helping the community. And the gardens are organic. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And finally, women and non-binary DJs in Cairo and the diaspora are reshaping the electronic music scene. Above all, they are building and rebuilding communities for mutual support, creating safer spaces in Cairo's nightlife, breaking glass ceilings, and even changing mentalities. Here's their story.
In a darkened restaurant turned dance hall in Cairo, partygoers moved to booming beats played by female DJs. This generation of women are reinventing Egypt's underground electronic music scene by stepping into the mix of the male-dominated industry. Even though the patriarchal conservative country's cultural establishment marginalizes and even bans electronic music artists.
There will always be sexism or a sort of discrimination against any woman. This will always be the case for time being. Unfortunately, I don't think anything will change. I wish it does.
These women DJs have many fans, and not all of them are women. Some men support the evolving customs and rejoice at the fact that more women are taking over profession traditionally reserved for men. According to reports, less than 20% of women are officially employed in the country of 104 million.
I specifically came for Yasmin. I don't see that there's a difference between men and women in this regard. I think it's no longer an issue nowadays. There's no longer any difference between men and women. However, in the past, there was criticism, especially at the working class level of women who sing, who work as drivers. So, of course, there has been a great deal of criticism in Egypt, but it's no longer the case.
All my life, I've been seeing male DJs playing music. Where are the female DJs? They're never around. Now, they're proving themselves. They're putting themselves on the main stage. But it's really nice to see that representation in the music scene.
Female partygoers for years have complained about harassment in the capital's nightclubs, while many revelers find mainstream venues too pricey. This generation of emerging young women DJs are forging a path to create more inclusive spaces for performers and partygoers alike.
In a female-only party where the DJ is a woman, the ladies feel more comfortable. They feel free to let loose, to get dressed up and dance as they please, especially that there are many veiled women in Egypt, so this makes them happier.
وخصوصا ان دلوقتي في مصر برضو في ستات كتير بقوا محجبات.
Despite rising numbers of female DJs, the scene remains dominated by men, especially in production and management. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And that is a wrap on this episode on World of Africa. Thank you very much for your time and for watching. Here's to many more this year. Find us on all our social media platforms and talk to us there. We appreciate feedback. I'm Erik Njoka. I will see you next week.